This episode is brought to you by JCPenney. And if you've been to JCPenney recently, yes, JCPenney, you'll know it's becoming the way to find good clothes for prices that still make sense. They've got hidden gems for everyone and every budget, with deals and rewards that actually make a dent. If you already shop JCPenney, you feel like you know a secret. But if not, it's time to ask. Wait, am I sleeping on JCPenney? Shop JCPenney.com. Yes, JCPenney.
This episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. In heart-pumping moments, you need hydration that can keep up. That's where Liquid IV comes in. Scientifically formulated to quickly replenish electrolytes and fluids lost from your well-earned sweat session. Hydrate your favorite mode of movement with Liquid IV, made with triple the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients. Also available and sugar-free. Tear, pour, live more. Visit liquidiv.com to learn more.
Hey everyone, Ray here. Many of you will be familiar with the incredible story of the Dunkirk civilian mobilization during World War II, but there's another remarkable story of a civilian-led maritime operation where Denmark ferried thousands of their Jewish citizens to safety in a mass-scale rescue right under the noses of the Nazis. From award-winning author Tim Brady, A Light in the Northern Sea, Denmark's incredible rescue of their Jewish citizens during World War II meticulously explores this nationwide resistance movement that reads like a thriller. Denmark's nearly 8,000 Jews survived, but it wasn't a miracle. It was the combined achievement of a nation refusing to stand by, using clever subterfuge and increasingly daring acts of sabotage. Among the rescued was Niels Bohr, the world-famous nuclear physicist who went on to help Oppenheimer build the bomb at Los Alamos. Publishers Weekly calls this book illuminating, an inspiring and suspenseful history that showcases grassroots efforts to stand up to tyranny. A Light in the Northern Sea from Kensington Books is available everywhere books are sold, and you can learn more at tim-brady.com. Hello, and thank you for listening to The History of World War II podcast, episode 552, Operation Supercharge. Last time, on October 25th, just days into the Second Battle of El Alamein, Rommel, though physically ill, had returned. True, the last few days had not been easy for the Eighth Army either, but now, after losing more men and tanks than expected this early on, advances were being made. The tanks were on the move. Compared to that, Rommel didn't have enough of anything, and his last reserves had already been committed. What was he to do now? As for Monty, he knew what he was going to do. As his plan had been stalled for the first 48 hours, he decided to make a major push further north, just under the rail line and road, to take advantage of the progress the Australians had made. Meanwhile, in the south, General Horrocks' 8th Corps, made up of the 7th Armored Division, the Desert Rats, the 50th and 44th Infantry Divisions, had failed with their feint attack in all aspects, but one. They had kept the 21st Panzer and the Ariete divisions in place. As for the more opportunistic possibilities Monty had been hoping for here, those never materialized. Back to late October 25th, Rommel assessed his lack of fuel, but as he had to do something to either retake the initiative or cancel the enemy's next attack, he ordered the 21st Panzer Division from the south to come north, leaving behind the Ariete Division there. However, given the lack of fuel, once those panzers did move north, they would not be able to go back, for that would be the end of their fuel. Thus, at 7 a.m., October 27th, the 21st Panzer moved out. Soon they would clash with the British 30th and 10th Corps, the point of the spear of Monty's attack plan to the north. Thus, the stage was set. Though Monty had his plan, moving men around and reorganizing would take time. Still, during the night of October 25th, the 5th Black Watch attacked the enemy position codenamed Sterling, just below Kidney Ridge. And given the weak German line here, this was occupied by dawn of the 26th. This small advance was to be exploited further, but by now the Germans had set up several machine gun positions. Thus, the lead Allied units were withered by their fire. So the Eighth Army could advance, but it would suffer heavily. There had to be another way, though what that was not clear at the moment. Tallying up casualties thus far, Monty had only a total of 1,700 enemy combatants, with another 2,000 or so killed or missing, whereas the Eighth Army had at least 6,000 killed, wounded, or missing. Matching this, Monty had lost 300 tanks thus far, though many of these would be repaired in time to Rommel's 127 lost tanks. So again, success on the battlefield was possible for the Allies. The question was, how high of a price was Monty willing to pay? For Rommel's men were still formidable. Having said that, though Monty had more men, they were scattered out in understrength units. So while he was planning on a big push in the north, this left him with a delicate balancing act for the rest of his line. For now, Monty's plan called for the 10th Armored Division, minus the 24th Armored Brigade, which was attached to the 1st Armored Division, to follow the 9th Australian Division's attack, and if needed, the 7th Armored Division could be pulled from the south to help with this. But much depended upon if Rommel had yet commit his last reserves, or at the very least, how well the Axis units in the far north would fight. Point being, on October 26th, an Allied victory was not a foregone conclusion. But now it was the time for fresh or stronger units to get to their jump-off points. So the 8th and 9th Armored Brigades pulled back, then the 2nd New Zealand pulled back, replaced by the 1st South African Brigade. Strangely, all this movement, normal for a coming attack, caused the Germans, for some reason, to believe that once the Allied tanks stopped moving, this is where they would stay for defensive purposes, at least for the immediate future. The Germans, though, were about to get a surprise. But before a major push came in the north, just below it, Monty launched a smaller attack that was hoped would grab more territory, disrupt the Axis defensive line while provoking an attack here, thus weakening the Axis defenses further north as they would have to pull men. Thus, at 11 p.m. on October 26th, two forces moved out to make for two different points. One was called Snipe, which was just southwest of Kidney Ridge, where the current battle line was, and two, the second position was called Woodcock, just northwest of Kidney Ridge. With the 7th Armored Brigade headed northwest for Woodcock and the 2nd Rifle Brigade moving southwest for Snipe, they would be joined by armor in the morning of the 27th. But for that night, they were on their own, with Allied support, of course. But the terrain was its own element in this contest. The 7th Motor Brigade accidentally went south of Woodcock. Still, the commander, not knowing this, ordered his men to dig in. To the south, it didn't go much better. The 2nd Rifle Brigade followed the artillery on its way to Snipe, and yet, somehow, the trajectory of the shells had been shifted further north. Thus, when the 2nd settled down, they too were off course, north of where they thought they were. Despite this lack of self-direction on the Allies' part, the 27th and 2nd Armored Brigades started to advance to catch up to the infantry. However, the 15th Panzer Division had been ordered to counterattack and start out as well, towards these same locations. But, like the Allies, they would be confused in having exact knowledge of where the enemy was. Elements of the 21st Panzer, Littorio, and Ariete divisions moved out that morning. As for the main Axis attack here, that started later in the afternoon, around 4 p.m. But the Panzers were about to receive a nasty surprise. The 2nd Rifle Brigade might have been in the wrong place. Still, the Panzers found them and came on, only to be checked, most violently, with British 6-pounders. The first 3 Panzers were hit, fell silent, and the rest turned around and fell back. The 21st Panzer did not fare any better with its attack. Thus, overall, the German attack here was over. Both sides dug in.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
As for Monty's main attack in the north, the 9th Australian moved out on the evening of the 25th and had a stroke of good luck. They soon came upon and captured a German reconnaissance party, which had maps of Axis minefields and the paths to get through them. This captured intelligence should certainly unnerve Rommel. But Monty wasn't done cluttering the front before his big push. The next attack was just over 3 miles from the coast and was above Woodcock and Snipe and was hopefully hitting a relatively weakly defended area, given that Monty had been attacking north of here and also now south of here with his recent attack. The majority of the units attacking here started out a few hours later, around midnight, which started with 14,000 25-pounder shells fired at the enemy. And though there would be heavy Allied casualties, again, thanks to German machine gun fire, the objective, Point 29, was less than halfway between Point Woodcock and the coast. Even better, thanks to the captured German maps, soon towed artillery pieces and motorized infantry were brought up through the gaps in the German minefield. By dawn of October 26th, Point 29 and its surrounding area was Allied property. Again, this was important because Monty wanted to make sure that Rommel had committed all of his troops before his, Monty's, tanks followed the path created by the 9th Australians. And also, Monty really needed for Rommel to be focused on an area just south of where his real main attack was going to take place. He wanted access resources pulled away from where he was going to attack and placed south of it where he was not going to attack. And so far, this was working. In reaction to all this, Rommel brought up the 90th Light African Division and put them just northwest of Point 29. At 7:45 a.m. on October 27th, Rommel sent the 90th to retake Point 29. Yet it took time to form a combat group which did not attack Point 29 until 3:30 p.m. with artillery support. But between the Axis tanks and trucks, soon dust covered everything, which caused the German attack group to seize the wrong piece of real estate, which of course they did not know. So they reported that Point 29 had been retaken at 5:15 p.m. Eventually, this was figured out, so Rommel sent another attack group at 9 a.m. on October 28th. It failed and was called off at 12:30. But furthering the plan of softening up Rommel before launching the major attack, that same day, the Australian 9th, north of Point 29, pushed further north and to the northeast to enlarge their jump-off point for the big attack. Now, this got underway at 10 p.m. on October 28th and was at first successful. But then the German 90th Division reacted stronger than expected, and the attack was called off. Clearly, Afrika Korps was not weakened enough yet. Checking the 9th Australian, Rommel was hoping to build on this by having a regiment of the 90th Division attack Point 29 again at 3:30 p.m. on October 29th, but this was no more successful than the other attacks. The point being, more of Rommel's forces were engaged and or were now casualties. And then finally, Monty got what he wanted. As we have seen, Rommel pulled the 21st Panzer Division up from the south, replaced by the Trieste Division, his last mobile reserve. Of course, Monty could not read Rommel's mind, so just to make sure that all of his men were committed to something, Monty launched another attack, limited though, and their goal was to reach the rail line in the far north, which was just below the main coastal road. This attack started at 10 p.m. on October 30th. Though muddled with a breakdown in communication for good measure, there was some success. The 26th Australian Brigade reached the railway and the road, yet it was not able to expand its hold nor go any further north. Still, mission accomplished. At 7 a.m. the next day, October 31st, Rommel was at the headquarters of the 90th Light Division. He wanted them to attack the most northern part of the Australians' position, namely the men of the 26th Brigade who had taken a section of the road and rail line. And really needing this to work, Rommel had the 90th, the 15th, and 21st Panzer Divisions each create a combat group, which included the majority of the 21st's Panzers and anti-tank guns, and they set out at 11 a.m. that day, October 31st. The good news was that these combat groups reached a part of the 90th Division, which was further east, that was close to being cut off by the 26 Australians. They reached them by 1:25 p.m. that same day. The bad news was that they could not kick out, push away, or kill off the 26th Australian Brigade nearest the road and rail line, and this was not for a lack of trying. As one witness would write when the sun came up the next day, the first light of dawn revealed a sight that was none too good for chaps with weak stomachs. Dead and mutilated bodies were to be seen wherever one looked, together with burnout guns, tanks, and weapons of all description. As happens in the mists of war, both sides were content with the results, minus the loss of life. Rommel, because his attack supposedly had thwarted an Allied attack and his line in the far north was more or less re-established. As for Monty, his contentment came from forcing Rommel to commit all that he had at a point that was north of where his next major offensive would start. And Rommel can be forgiven up to a point for falling for this. What with the fighting around Point 29, then further south around Kidney Ridge, and now here north of Point 29, taking the road and rail line, Monty was all over the place. The only thing that Rommel could be certain of was that the big push would not be coming at the far south. And proving that Rommel had taken his eye off the ball, he failed to issue specific orders to the 90th Division for the next day. Thus, they were in reaction mode only. If they were attacked, they would fight. But as for something more offensively minded, well, word had not come from on high. Monty had the initiative back in his pocket, and he was about to use it.
Hello, this is Matt from the Explorers Podcast. I want to invite you to join me on the voyages and journeys of the most famous explorers in the history of the world. At the Explorers Podcast, we plunge into jungles and deserts, across mighty oceans and frigid ice caps, over and to the top of great mountains, and even into outer space. These are the thrilling and captivating stories of Magellan, Shackleton, Lewis and Clark, and so many other famous and not so famous adventurers from throughout history. So come give us a listen. We'd love to have you. Go to explorerspodcast.com or just look us up on your podcast app. That's the Explorers Podcast.
Back on October 28th, Monty held another meeting with his commanders. All of his units were by now weakened. Still, he wanted General Freyberg's 2nd New Zealand Division to take the lead. Problem was, after subtracting casualties and non-combat roles, out of his previous 11,774 men, its 6 battalions were down to 200 actual fighters each. The only silver lining was that Rommel was at least as bad off. By November 1st, Rommel knew he did not have the resources to launch a major offensive. Indeed, each man or gun team was told to husband what they had exceedingly. The good news was that Hitler had promised a delivery of a battalion of Nebelwerfer rocket launchers by November 10th. For now, Rommel would have to rely on his 192 German and 189 Italian tanks, all kinds. Meanwhile, Monty had about 700 tanks, all kinds, but he also had all the fuel, bullets, and shells he could want, whereas Rommel was also running low on the one thing that had saved his men time and time again, anti-tank guns. Then again, for Monty, infantry ranks were low, so overall, neither commander could afford to make a large mistake, as the other would surely pounce. Thus, the coming Allied attack, Operation Supercharge, would be delivered on a narrow front from around Point 29 going south to position Woodcock, with Point 29 being about a mile from the coast road and rail line, and Woodcock being about 2 miles below that, so the front would be just under 3 miles wide. But this time, there would be no major lakes of landmines set up by the Germans and the Italians to cut through. Instead, it would just be patches of minefields. So, with Rommel looking at the coast road, expecting Monty to expand his holdings there with an attack, instead, the main attack would come just south of it, setting up the Axis forces in the far north to either be cut off and trapped or destroyed with their backs to the sea. And feeling that General Freyberg was his best general, though his men were low in numbers, Monty gave Freyberg the 151st and 152nd British Infantry Brigades and told him to attack just below Point 29. There would be 2 Valentine tank battalions with them, and they were to push on until approximately 3.5 kilometers behind the Axis line. Then the 9th Armored Brigade would take over and advance another 2 kilometers. This would put the thrust of the Allied armor near the Sidi Abd el-Rahman area, further west along the coast road. And there, with the 1st Armored Brigade by its side, the Axis armor would be engaged and destroyed once and for all. It was time. At 9:15 p.m. on November 1st, at least 80 RAF bombers hit targets at the Rommel area, behind the German line, and again, which was the ultimate goal of the British armor. At 1:05 a.m., now November 2nd, 8th Army's artillery started up, focusing on the narrow front about to be attacked, but also having enough guns to target Axis artillery, a luxury Rommel no longer had. Some 150,000 shells were sent aloft in a relatively short time. When the shelling stopped, the 151st and 152nd British Infantry Brigades moved out. The good news was that the enemy in front of them, having just been shelled, was in no shape to fight back. Axis prisoners were taken, the brigades kept advancing. The bad news was that all that shelling had created massive dust clouds, causing the leading companies of the brigades to start to separate, none the wiser. Still, the infantry kept moving forward, and the men reached their objective, again about 3.5 kilometers inside Axis territory, by 3:44 a.m. Behind them were engineers clearing lanes through the scattered minefields. And now the tanks started out at 6:15 a.m., November 2nd. Soon they would reach the Rommel line. But a few hours before this, Rommel's headquarters had issued the order to hold all ground. But as we have seen, not only did this not happen, but a battalion of the 90th Light Division to the north was overrun, as was a battalion of the 15th Panzer in the south on the British left. This occurred at 4:45 a.m. But even before this, both the 15th and 21st Panzer Divisions were ordered to advance and attack. Rommel could guess that enemy tanks would be following their infantry and hoped his panzers would get to the leading enemy infantry before their tank support arrived. And they did. Parts of 2 panzer divisions, supported by medium Italian tanks, hit the armor of the 8th and 50th Royal Tank Regiments, which were with and supporting the leading infantry brigades. These 2 forces clashed, and then the 9th Armored Brigade arrived, going right into the fight. Of course, their concern was for the 24 88mm guns. But the 3 British tank battalions had supporting them the anti-tank guns of the 14th Sherwood Foresters. The most northern of the 3 British tank battalions, the 3rd Hussars, went after the 88s and destroyed 4 of them right off the bat. However, this got the attention of all the other German guns and the approaching panzers. Soon the 3rd Hussars were being whittled down. By 7 a.m., they were down to 7 tanks, but they had started with 40. Now it was the turn of the Middle Tank Battalion, the Royal Wiltshire Yeomanry, and they started out well too, but so had the Hussars. The Wiltshire was about to lose much. For all of their lack of resources, the Germans were still dangerous and could, while not outright winning, hold at bay victory from Rommel. Once again, the question was, how high of a price was he willing to pay? Greetings, everyone, from Central Virginia. So, we're in the thick of it now. The next one will probably wrap up this battle, and then we'll see what happens. Does Rommel get away? Does forces retreat? Where's the fuel coming from? Are they going to be captured? So we'll answer all those questions and many more. I sound like a 70s TV show. Anyway, so I just want to thank some new people who came aboard. At first, there was a mystery involved. So someone named Nick, who's obviously so cool he doesn't have a second name. He just goes by Nick, like Cher, Madonna, Ray, whatever. I saw that he became a member, so I wasn't sure what to write, so I just put him down as Nick. But then I saw Nicholas had also donated, so I'm pretty sure they're the same person. He's an Aussie, they're the best. So Nicholas, thank you very much for that. Another person who donated was Carlton Derrick, so thank you very much, Carlton. Much appreciated here. So I had a little vacation this weekend, and now I'm back. The batteries are recharged, and I'll see you in a couple days with the next episode. We'll wrap up Alamein, kind of see what happens next, and then, of course, bring in the Yanks and go from there. So I appreciate everyone's listening. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Tim Bouverie. That really was a good book. I enjoyed that a lot. So anyways, you should check it out, and I will see you soon, and we will begin to unravel the Third Reich, the Axis, and the whole bloody thing. Take care, everyone.
First Merchants Bank has your best interest at heart. And by best interest, we mean more than just our competitive rates.
We mean flexible account options for your every need.
And mortgage experts like me to help you buy your dream home.
Don't forget our attentive commercial bankers, here to help your business thrive.
At First Merchants,
we know.
Your best interest is a bank that's interested in your success. Learn more at firstmerchants.com/switch. First Merchants Bank, helping you prosper. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
From the creators of the popular science show with millions of YouTube subscribers comes the Minute Earth podcast. Every episode of the show dives deep into a science question you might not even know you had. But once you hear the answer, you'll want to share it with everyone you know. Why do rivers curve? Why did the T-Rex have such tiny arms? And why do so many more kids need glasses now than they used to? Spoiler alert, it isn't screen time. Our team of scientists digs into the research and breaks it down into a short, entertaining explanation, jam-packed with science facts and terrible puns. Subscribe to Minute Earth wherever you like to listen.